right. Well, welcome to another episode of Get Your Head in the Game podcast. My name is Dr. Jenna Rost, and I am your host. I am also a certified mental performance consultant and licensed mental health counselor. And so today we have our guest, Leo Santana. He is a former MLB Major League Baseball player. Played for 5 years and 8 months on the Cincinnati Reds, originally from the Dominican Republic. And so we are excited to have you here and to hear about, your time as a professional baseball player, as well as what you're doing now to help athletes in the future, what you plan to do with your education and what your career goals are to kind of give back to the sports community in positive ways. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation, actually. This is my first podcast and, I'm very excited. So thank you.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be fun. We can talk about a lot of different things. Today, I really wanted to talk about, your journey through the different levels in baseball and maybe starting with how did you, start in the sport and how did you fall in love with baseball?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you asked that question, actually. So my father always inculcated me baseball. Baseball is a huge thing in Dominican Republic. So I remember my first power sport was tennis, and I used to hit the ball outside of the court. And the coach spoke with my father, and he told him like, "Hey, you have to put this guy in baseball," And then like everything started from there. I've been loving baseball, still loving baseball. I love this game. It's such a beautiful game, and yeah, thankfully I was able to sign at 16 years old for the Cincinnati Reds. My first year was in the Dominican Summer League. I played about 1 year, and then the following year came here to Arizona actually, and play about 2 years here, and then I play low A and Montana actually, and then I play regular A in Dayton, Ohio, and then my last year was in Daytona, which was high A. But this whole journey in baseball, I mean, it's been such a blessing for me, taking the advantage to know people, meet great people all of the way, and just being able to play this game, it's such a blessing for me. So um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. So from tennis to baseball, what were you like hitting the ball like way too far out there? And they're just like, this guy can't do tennis. He's not built for tennis. He's built for something else,
Right.
baseball.
I just
That's
enjoy like the ball going far, like out of the
mhm.
court.
Uh-huh.
So like the coach was telling me all the time, like, hey, you have to hit the ball to me, like, going back and forward, but I just feel the ball all the time out of the court. So my father just put me like in a little league team, and that's
Hmm.
where everything started.
Wow. So from a young age, and then
Yeah,
it sounds like, so you said at 16 is when you were picked up to play um
baseball.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
You started there in the Dominican Republic and then
Yes.
came here.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
what age did you come here?
I was about, I believe, 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 years old. Um, I remember it was April 4th, the first time that we came here. So I played standard league, and then we went directly to the Arizona rookie league over here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And what position did you play?
I played third for my entire year, like for like 5 consecutive years. And then like my last year, actually, I played both first and third.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. So quite the journey then. What was that like to transition from not only like moving, but just the level and transitioning up to the next level and moving away from home? What was that like for you?
I mean, honestly, the first year it was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you, like I never been that far from my family. So like on the first month, I just want to go like back home, see my mom
Mm,
and my parents. But it was very tough. I was also in a long relationship too. Those kind of like factors actually affect, in my opinion, it affect me, my transition in baseball, like my performance, development. Um, it's there's a lot of distraction actually. There's a lot of emotion going on, and it was tough. It was
Mm-hmm.
tough. It was in my case, it was even more tough because my father, he passed away when I was 17 years old. So
Wow.
I remember my first year here in 303, my first year in Dominican Republic. And then the next year I hit like 190 something, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
And I'm gonna tell you, I was healthy,
Mm-hmm.
like super healthy. I never had any injury, any lesion, anything at all. But my mind, I was struggling a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nights crying, I was so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I couldn't like speak well with my coaches. There was a
Wow.
lot going on. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much where everything started. Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's to have a loss like that while you're trying to perform. Did anybody know that this was happening for you? I mean, did you share with anybody what was going on?
Actually, no, no. I was just quiet. I never shared that I
Mm-hmm.
was struggling mentally. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that was part of the issue, actually, I was actually covering my emotions, which is a sad thing. I was covering my emotion like buying stuff such as clothes, shoes, baseball stuff. Um, and those kind of things, like at that moment, makes me happy, right? At the
Mm-hmm.
moment, but
Mm-hmm.
like that didn't fade the emotion that I was going through.
Yeah.
So I know that just like me, there are many other players that face the same issue too. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it is sad because they don't have like at that young age, there is not like a lot of expression. We don't used to like talk specifically with like adult coaches. We
Mm-hmm.
have like more interactions with like our teammates. So like obviously my roommate actually, he know
Mm-hmm.
what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Like my coaches, they never knew what I was going through.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, at least you had your roommate there, but yeah, it sounds like the distraction of, buying things and that was your way of coping and
Exactly.
managing those strong emotions. What do
Hmm.
you think when you think back on that, what do you think prevented you? I mean, the coaches had to be wondering, like this guy was at a 300 and now he's dropped to, what did you say, 190? Or was it
194, I think.
194? I mean, the coaches had to be thinking what's happening or what's going on. What do you
Yeah.
feel like prevented you from coming forward to those coaches and explaining like everything that was happening in your life?
That's a good question. I think I was more like scared what's gonna happen to me next.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess that avoid me to talk directly to the coaches. Um, like I said, I was healthy. Physically, I was healthy, but I think they were trying to fix like my swing. They thought that was something like more mechanic, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something going on with my swing. I couldn't hit curveball at any breaking balls. Um, it was something more like that I just couldn't talk to anyone, I guess, to any
Mm-hmm.
coaches. They
Yeah.
they thought that my struggle was due to like mechanical stuff, but not
Mm-hmm.
never like any mental stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
it was actually my fault somehow because I never spoke to them, which
Mm-hmm.
I could, but I never did. Yeah,
Right. Right. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense if you were to come forward and say, "Hey, that these things are happening in my life and this is what is going on for me." There's always the question of what, like you said, what will happen to me? Will I lose my position? Will I lose my spot on the team? What will they
exactly.
change me, move me? And not wanting to disrupt any of that. I mean, that makes sense because especially
Yes,
when you've worked so hard to get to where you were. Um,
exactly. And even though
Yes.
that baseball is a competitive game, like
Mm-hmm.
being on third base, there were like other four different third basemen too that want to play, daily.
Mm-hmm.
So like having that in mind, also keep me like just trying to do my best. But like being at that age, I wasn't thinking that, okay, this is actually gonna ruin my career because I'm not performing. I'm not giving my 100% in the field. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
those are like the things that as a young age athlete, we don't think about it. You know,
Yeah.
we just like, let's go and play the game, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And as much as you kind of try, there's always, life that's happening on the outside that bleeds into that performance.
yeah,
And, for me, it's part of the reason why I also, sport and performance psychology, but also mental health, because you can't necessarily always address performance if you're not able to address mental health. I think the two are
exactly.
so, they're tied together. During that time, would you say you had depression or anything like that?
Positive. Yeah, positive. I mean, I was actually talking to one of my friends, former teammates actually, that we never know what it's any like psychological impact such as stress, anxiety, or depression until we came here to the United States. You know,
Mm.
we
Mm-hmm.
actually face those negative impacts like before, but we
Mm-hmm.
never knew about them. We never
Yeah.
knew like, okay, this is actually exists. This is actually something that can affect us in the
Mm-hmm.
long term in our career. So we actually knew what was that once we came here actually,
Mm-hmm.
but we never had the trust to speak about it to anyone
Mm-hmm.
because we couldn't even like I will say like reflect what actually are the symptoms or having a stress
Mm-hmm.
or anxiety. So yes, I mean I can say that I face all of them: stress,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, depression. Yes, I mean
Wow.
absolutely.
Yeah. So for anyone just hopping on to listen, I'm just gonna, recap. This is Leo Santana. He played 5 years and 8 months in the Major League Baseball. He's a professional baseball player, and we are talking on his journey from Dominican Republic to here and what that was like as a young athlete and to grow up in the sport and then experience some pretty significant loss during that time and how that affected him. So coming back to kind of what you just said about not really knowing about it until you came here and not really identifying what the symptoms were. What do you feel like was a barrier to you knowing what that was?
Yeah, I think it's something I will say like this is more like cultural than
Mm-hmm.
anything else. Um, Unfortunately, as a Latino, we actually think that reaching or like seeking for mental health is you being crazy,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's kind of clueless, but that's like a cultural thing that I would say like maybe like there's a high percentage actually that think that way, specifically athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's one of the reasons that I couldn't like reach out actually to any
Mm-hmm.
mental assistant at that moment because I think like, okay, if I'm going to reach out, maybe my psychologist, my team is gonna think that I'm crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just thinking like as a child.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, culturally,
Culturally, yeah, definitely just kind of being raised in that. I think there's also culturally, but also in your family, and what you see and what, if people
exactly.
talk about those things or that's not
Yes,
even a thing, of you're, crazy if you have to go see a psychologist and kind of that stigma that's repeated from the things that we see and we experience.
yeah.
So when you got here, who was it that first kind of introduced you to the idea of maybe this is what's happening for me?
About what?
The symptoms of depression, the symptoms that you were having, to be able to put kind of words to it and understand what was actually going on. When did you come to that point or that realization?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's actually many factors that play against us when you playing like baseball and stuff. There's a lot of competitive stuff that sometimes as at a young age, actually seeing like different athletes and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that play against you that some of the stuff can actually drive you to like those negative psychological impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, actually, I notice, I'm not gonna lie to you, I've noticed that I face those emotions once I start studying sports psychology.
Mm,
That's I never thought that I faced those emotions like in the transitioning for me, like to be outside of baseball and becoming like sports psychology, you know.
mhm,
So yeah, I just noticed that I started facing those emotions when I started studying sports psychology, you know.
mhm,
And
mhm,
yeah, actually, there's actually a teammate, one of my teammates that introduced me to the sports psychology because we were talking about what happened to me, all the struggle that I faced, you know. And he was like, why you don't start like doing like more something related to like a sports psychology, you know?
mhm,
I was like, okay, yeah, that might be interesting, you know. And that's how I start actually studying this program. But um, I think actually, Dr. Ross, it is very sad seeing like many young athletes facing those negative impacts, honestly. And actually, sadly, is that they don't seek for help, you know.
mhm,
I
mhm.
think it's not because they don't want to, maybe they don't know how to,
Yes.
which is
Mhm,
actually different. So
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I love that. That the realm of sports psychology is obviously it's growing and becoming more well known. I think for so long, it's been kind of this thing that nobody really knows about. So,
Mhm.
like people talking about it and sharing the word. And part of the reason why I started this podcast was because I want people to hear that,
Yes,
athletes do struggle and let's start talking about it because
absolutely.
the only way to get past it is to talk about it and figure out, okay, how can I move forward through this, past this, and give people the skills to do that. So let's talk a little bit now about your journey in sports psychology and what you plan to do with that and how you plan to use it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked actually. So my intentions actually are to help young athletes with their
Hmm.
mental health and performance. Um, I don't think like many young athletes actually reach out for help. So when this is my intention actually, and what I'm assuming when they see someone like me that used to play baseball, you know, that face many psychological struggle, um, they can actually feel comfortable by reaching out to me and asking for help, you
Hmm.
know. And actually, yes, I can definitely help you. I would love to discuss those things and related to baseball too, you know.
Hmm.
It's more like something like a passion. So yes, actually, starting this program, I think that I can be, you know, like a good candidate actually for specifically young athletes, and
Hmm.
I'm just very excited for what come next.
Yeah, yeah. How much more do you have left in the program that you're in?
Yeah, so I'm currently finishing this is my third semester.
Okay.
So I'm currently my senior year. I'm supposed to graduate in December 2023. Yes.
Yes. That's exciting. That's super
Yes,
exciting.
I am very
Um,
excited.
yeah, I think you have a lot to give back to those younger athletes and just hearing your story and so many of them aren't eh, they like you said they don't know how. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like how do you bring this up? How do you talk about it? And so you're able to relate with them in that way. And that's so important and talking to the young athletes and even in sports psychology of giving them skills and preventing mental health
Exactly.
crisis or breakdown. That's ultimately I think the goal for us in the field of sports psychology is how can I strengthen you so that if you do face a hard situation, right, it's not the end of your career or
Right.
going to affect you in your actual physical skills, like we saw for you, and walking through that and going through that. So, do you feel like what you have to offer and what you have to give will help prevent some of those things?
Yes, yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, being able to share my history with everyone, I guess they can make like a positive impact on athletes, you know.
Hmm.
That's actually one thing. And I can actually speak for other former teammates of mine. They actually have family that passed away in the process of being a baseball player, and they actually face those emotions too. So yes, I mean, sharing my history with everyone, I think that might be able to help them seeking for help in their young career. So yes, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do to prevent maybe negative impacts, or like that the negative impact actually don't affect them like in a high way, maybe like in a short way where they can actually face them and overcome the issue.
Yes.
So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. I love that. I love what you're going to do with it and how you're going to use your story. I think it's so powerful just to see and know that you're going to be contributing in such a positive way. And
Of course.
I know these young athletes, they need that positive influence. They need those positive words to encourage them in their journey. It's so easy for them, I think, to get discouraged just with number one, our society, then social media, and all these other voices that are happening. Coaches can have a lot of good intention, but sometimes has a negative impact on them.
Right.
And so what advice or what positive words would you give to these young athletes, or maybe anybody that's listening here,
Yeah.
for their own mental health and their own performance?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question actually. So my advice is that to never be scared to ask for help. This is very huge. I mean, I know sometimes we can be scared to ask for help because what's going to happen next, but I mean, there's always help. There's still good people, with good intentions. So never be scared to ask for help, and
Mm,
just enjoy what you are doing. This is more
mhm,
important. I will never forget this. Actually, that was in my last year in my career baseball, that a coach told me once, just enjoy the game.
mm,
It's as simple as that. Enjoy the game and enjoy what you're doing, and don't see it like a work.
mhm,
See it like a game, like a
mhm.
joy. So I'm sharing that uh, piece of advice with everyone. Just enjoy what you're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Love it for
It's
sure.
so simple. It's so simple, but it can be so hard to do, with the pressure of life as we get caught up
Yes,
and we even create more pressure for ourselves. So if you come back to the simple fact that maybe, it's a simple thing, enjoy the game, or, having that love for what you do. And it sounds like for you, just in your journey, that was a main factor for you, was just loving the game and loving
exactly.
baseball. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
any other last words that you want to share with us before we finish?
Um, I don't believe so. I think I just
Okay.
want to thank you, for the
Yeah.
opportunity actually. Um, I'm not using any social media right now, just
Okay.
LinkedIn for
Okay.
professional reasons. So you guys can reach out to me at Leo Santana. And
Okay.
actually, it's been a pleasure being
Yes.
here and you for having me.
Yes, definitely. This was really good. So another episode of Get Your Head in the Game podcast with Leo Santana. And thank you for sharing everything that you shared. And if anybody needs to find you, find him on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ross.